All right, folks. Kesari 2019, an Indian film about a battle that I didn't know anything about. It's a interesting story and piece of history that many of us should try to learn about. Is this Sikh regiment, and it's a member of sort of like the British Indian Army. It's basically a bander put in this fort. It has to face off this Afghan threat of like 10,000 people attacking it. So the premise is that they're going to hold them off and delay the fact that if they can hold them up long enough, then they won't not only overtake this fort, it won't have time to overtake the other two. The film centers around Ishar Singh. He is basically equivalent what we would understand as a sergeant in this regiment. And he, in the beginning of the film, goes to the rescue of this sort of like captured young woman and disobeys his superior in the army and saves her, basically. And it is a big problem for the British officers. They're trying to sort of like keep the peace and understand all the territory, but at the same time, these Afghanis are totally out of control and very violent. He defies their orders, and according to doing so, he already has some beef with the military leader there because he's super skilled at fighting. Anyway, they basically just send him off to this remote fort. When he arrives, he's got a ragtag group. This is sort of the imagine like 300 meets Bad News Bears. This is the soldiers that are going to be put in the face of a no-win situation, but also the story is about an hour or so of them sort of like finding their way. He's training them up, all the different antics, the resentment that they have between each other and them, how it kind of resolves itself, and they ultimately will come together as a group. The story does have some beautiful imagery. It is shot very well, great locations, great epic feel to everything. You feel like you're there, part of it, and it is also just the heroism is also captured, I think, very well. You can see here he with his men on each side. They all have different personalities that are being kind of brought through. And I think that if you're a member of the Sikh community, this film has to feel like The Patriot or something that's very emotional, feels you very gets you very revved up about your history and what you can contribute to the country. Once the battle kicks into high gear, you have all sorts of crazy antics, some believable, some not so much, some in slow motion, some not. It works really well in the last 30 minutes or 40 minutes of the movie. I think is really what everybody's kind of hoping to get to and to see. That is definitely not what my problem is with this film. I think that part of it is executed and done very good. And I will say also to make the last half of the movie even better is as Ishar is trying to motivate his men. He's talking to them about going into this sort of like impossible situation. He is giving them an option to kind of go. He's allowing things to be their decision. They have to make decisions to not only die, but also to die for their fellow comrades and for their country at large. And there's some great motivational speeches, if you will, motivational comments. He was mocked very early in the film. Basically all of these soldiers are cowards, and he uses that against them in these sort of like final moments in this great epic battle scene. I think what Kasari does badly, though, is he just kind of gets bogged down with a bunch of other stuff that we don't care as much about. It really, really slows down in the middle and has a problem with tone. It's like really serious, and then at times it wants to be very comedic and jokey, and then back to serious again. He has these flashbacks and these memories that were being connected to his background and his family, his wife, and everything else going on, which would matter to each and every one of the soldiers. But it throws off the pace for everything. It kind of just it's a lot longer than it needs to be. I think we could have condensed some of this or at least presented it in a different way to make things move a lot faster. His performance is fantastic, by the way. I don't really say much about it. It's a very subdued performance because they don't really show their emotions on their sleeves. He's also trying to be such a great role model for his soldiers. He's also just this epic warrior. So he has to kind of balance all of those things really, really well. And I just really did enjoy all that. So if you're into some of those action sequences, you're okay with some of the super slow-mo, you're okay with sort of like the impossibility of all of it. Yeah, this could be a good movie for you. It's just a little ridiculous and silly. They all line up, they fight him like one at a time, which again is just kind of absurd and silly. He's not sort of overrun. And it does become somewhat ridiculous in the portrayal of this incredible sacrifice that these 21 men and the 22nd man being the cook, which has the great story for him, by the way. They give him a great opportunity there as well. And I just think overall it didn't translate well for us in the West because it does plot along so much for a good hour or so. It's a 3-hour film. So you've got quite a bit of time here that's not really necessary by our standards. They do love to have films that are around them. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. About 2 hours and 30 minutes, but I would shave it down to probably around the 2 hour mark for sure. And just speed a lot of those scenes up. You don't necessarily have to cut them out completely. You just have to kind of speed a lot of that up. And then I think we have to figure out how to even out the tone. It's so extreme from the emotions and all of that. But there's some great moments. I think it is really great to be able to capture the history here of this time, this battle between the Indian elements of the British Army versus the Afghans, these basically tribesmen that just overwhelm everyone with their pure volume. And the fact that these men were able to be very smart and strategic, take advantage of their high ground in the fort, and just willing to sacrifice themselves basically for country. It really is a nice story. Overall, I kind of ranked the film kind of midland for me. It's about a 3 out of 5. Very solid film. Not anything I think that's stupendous or super special for me. I don't think there's a lot of rewatchability for me as well. I think the last half of the movie would be very entertaining to kind of sit through again. But there's really a massive lull in the middle that I didn't really feel as engaged, I think, to the characters. I don't really care as much about those characters that he's kind of training and bringing them along. I know I'm supposed to care more than I do, but it's really about him. And then we have too much time where he's sort of distracted and he's caught in his memories and his thoughts and all of that. And it's fine. So overall, I think most people will kind of go even a little less than me. I think most Americans, I think in the U.S., we've gone like a 2.5 kind of thing. It's a product, normal Midland store, that 5 or 6 out of 10. However, I think again, if you have connections to the Sikh culture or you love this sort of elements of history, you could probably bump this movie up a little bit more. Maybe it's more like a 7 for you, that kind of thing. I don't think it really holds a candle to sort of like the Oscar caliber elements of like Sardar Udom or some others that I think that are more action driven, which be more rewatchable for us. But I don't necessarily think this film is, a disappointment or anything like that. I think it just is what it is and has its positive and negatives. And so I know I've been asked to watch this for a while. I had a hard time connecting because, like I said, about 45 minutes or so in, man, it slows down to a crawl. I really kind of would lose interest. I'd get distracted because I have to pay so much attention to subtitles and just try to connect. But I'm just like, it's just not, I wanted to kind of, I don't want to say fast forward, but that's kind of how I felt. But I can't do that. I was watching it for the first time. So it took a long time for me to get through this film, but I'm happy to put it behind me. It was an enjoyable enough film for what it was, but that's how I came down on it. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate those thoughts and recommendations. Try to work them in, but I can't always promise it's timely. So thanks for again. I'm Pops.